Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon wound pickups.
Hey, it's me, Todd Novak. Thank you for joining us. We are grateful to have you along for this ride of the Guitar Knobs podcast.
That's right.
We're really, really excited tonight. We're in a new space. It's a secret space. It's not a secret. We just don't know. We don't want to say a bunch of where we're at just yet. We just left our old building, and anyway. So, Tony,
Yes.
what do we do on the show?
Well, we like to talk about gear, specifically boutique gear and other gear too. But we like to talk to people who make the gear.
All the time.
The builders, the boutique builders, if you will. And that would be things like amplifiers, guitars, pedals,
Strings.
pickups,
Strings.
and accessories.
Yes, all
Guitar
kinds
chords.
of things.
All those things.
Yep. We have one of those people tonight.
I think he checks off a
who
lot of the boxes.
is on the line right now.
Hey, this is Jer Lyle from DeLisle Guitar Company, and I do everything but wind my own strings. I would agree.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, there's always time to learn.
That's right. You just need a string machine, and there you go.
Yeah.
Or a hurdy-gurdy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Get one on Amazon
wow.
for Christmas. Yeah, right. We're not going to hear any more about the ridiculous hurdy-gurdy, Jared. So,
Dang it.
Jared, thank you for joining us tonight. We're really excited to have you. For those who may not be familiar with DeLisle Guitar Co., where can they find you?
DeLisleGuitar.com. Also on Facebook. Same little tag there. Instagram. That pretty much covers it.
All right.
I'm on Twitter, but I don't tweet.
Me too.
That sounds like a pop song or something. I'm not sure. Cool. Well,
You can have the rights to that one.
thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody, make sure that you get a chance while you're listening, hopefully, to go check out DeLisle Guitar Co. and find out what we're going to be talking about today, whatever time of day it is for you. That's when we're talking about it.
That's the beauty of podcasting.
That
isn't
is
it?
the beauty of podcasting.
You can listen to it anytime.
You can listen to it at night and then again during the day,
in case you miss something.
if you want to. For those of us who are joining us, for those of you,
For those of us who are joining us for the first
for
time.
those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are glad to have you with us. Hopefully, you have been listening to us for a long time for the other people. And make sure you go back into the catalog and try to find all of your favorite builders and makers and such. And also one of Jared's favorite things,
The 101s.
the 101s.
That's correct.
That is correct. I caught him in the middle of a yawn. Sorry, Jared. All right, everybody. We've got a great show. We're going to get to some announcements real quick here. We want to thank Rode Microphones for providing this beautiful Rodecaster Pro,
Yummy.
our little mothership. We also want to thank them for the Procaster mics. Yes, they made the trip from the old studio to wherever we're at right now temporarily. And they're accompanied by the what, Tony?
Tony.
Tony?
That would be the articulating arm.
Yeah, I got both of you. That's brilliant. I love it.
Well, you did say Tony.
I know. Yes. Well, Jer on the other line.
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
We've
he
got a
coulda
Jer.
joined
That's
in
right.
too.
Yeah, that's right.
Jer squared.
Exactly.
There it is.
Hey, we got a great message from our pal Joe S. He sent something that sounds like this. Because of your show, it inspired me to start digging into homemade pedals more. I actually purchased a soldering iron.
A soldering.
Special guest Harry Carey.
Yeah.
Solder.
That's
Solder.
Just in your head, put it as SODDR.
Yeah, no, sorry.
SODDR.
Okay.
Solder.
I actually purchased a soldering iron and fixed a broken switch on one of my favorite pedals. Before your show, it was destined to sit in my closet even longer and eventually thrown away. In addition, I made it a goal of buying a pedal from one of your guests every few months to help support.
Oh, cool.
That is so cool to hear. I really appreciate that. Tony really appreciates that. Our guests really appreciate that.
Our
Jared,
pedal
I
builders
absolutely
really
appreciate it.
he says,
Good job.
I'll for sure continue to push the word of mouth with your podcasts to others to help you grow. You guys are, well, he says some nice things, and I'll just leave it at that. All the love, Joe. Joe, buddy, thank you so much for sending that. We love hearing messages like that. We love when somebody just shares, hey, I'm doing something new. I was inspired by your guests. Certainly not us. We're not the inspiring ones, but our guests are, and that means a lot to us. Well, there's that.
That was lovely.
And let's see. What are we doing in our world this week? Guitar world this week, Tony Baloney.
This week, I will touch on one thing.
Yes.
I'm on the hunt for something. And this is a fairly obscure pedal, but you can actually find it. And it's in many ways a kind of useless pedal. But years and years and years ago, I used to work part-time over at the music around here. Mm-hmm. And we got this pedal in that would look like it was from the 70s, maybe late 60s. Mm-hmm. And we were just monkeying around with it. It didn't work really well, but I think it was like, we put $20 on it, whatever. That was back in the day. Well, I was listening to Cake today. And in a lot of Cake songs, there is usually a siren that pops in and out of the song from then and again. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my buddy Dave. I said, I remember we had this one pedal that came in, and it turns out that it is this. It's a combination. Now, stay with me here.
I'm staying with you.
Me. This is a Japanese pedal by a company called Shin A.
Yep.
And it is a volume pedal, wah, hurricane, and siren.
Wow.
This thing is, and they're going for about $200 now.
That's it?
Well, some of the real new, new in box ones are a lot more than that. But what's cool about it is, there's a little switch on the side. You can make it work like a volume pedal, or a wah pedal.
So it's like an expression pedal.
Yeah, but then
the actual
it looks like a wah pedal
format. Yeah,
almost like like an old Morley that had the big box underneath.
Right.
It. You put it to the hurricane / surf sound.
Yeah,
and it's just like this. So it sounds like the surf coming in and going out.
Or like a crappy crybaby.
Yeah. But the cool thing was the siren thing, and I don't think it's a very complicated circuit, but you press the little button, you press it once, it goes, and then you hit the button again, it goes.
Really?
Yeah, so look it up.
Goofy.
It's the goofiest pedal ever. But I just I got to thinking, boy, I think I'd like to try to find one of those.
Wow.
Or maybe one of our former guests on the show. Maybe
it'd be sweet if there was a hee-haw setting too.
That might if we were going to make a new pedal, we could put the hee-haw setting on it. But anyhow, that's I just started poking around on Reverb and
trying to find
eBay.
One.
And I want to find one reasonably priced. I mean, to me, $200. I guess it's not the end of the world, but for a very limited sort of pedal, it would just.
I'd just think about it.
Okay.
All right. Let's hear from Jer real quick. Jer, share with us what you did this week.
Oh, Guitar World stuff. Well, I'll start with a little history. This company is really just a front, so I can sneak gear into the house. When I first started, well, actually, when I first got married, I realized that things had changed when I bought a blowout Gretsch on American Musical and brought it home, or didn't even bring it home. I came home and told my wife about it, and she's like, "You did what?" I was like, "It was a great deal. It was like $1,600. She said, "No, you can't do that." And that was like when I really realized I was married. So that was probably 2 years into it. So I had to grow up real fast.
Yep.
But I also had to call American Musical and cancel that order.
Whoa.
And when the lady asked me why, I had to say, because my wife said so. So today was actually another Gretsch blowout. And I ran it past her first. I did it the right way. I said, "Honey, can I get this guitar?" And she liked it because it was green. And she said, "You know what? okay, so today happened to be a new guitar day.
Hey, that's
pretty
outstanding.
Nice.
excited
That's a
about that.
great thing. Great way to have to start the day.
It was. Yeah, UPS didn't break it, so everything was good.
What model did you get?
Oh, it was. It's called a 5622. So it's the Electromatic line, but was a camera shop out on the East Coast for some reason it sells Gretches, but they were blowing them out at like 50% off for Black Friday. So I was like, I can't pass that up. I mean, even if I have to sell it, I'm not going to lose any money. So yeah,
Wow.
Georgia Green. It's got super high Lotron pickups. Bigsby. Looks like a 335.
That's
Cool
awesome.
guitar.
Not a bad deal at all. Now that's not the kind of. Does that have the painted F holes? Is that? I can't remember what model has that.
No, but it's got the smaller F holes. Country Gentleman would have had the painted ones.
That's right. The country
The
gentleman.
Tennessee and the too. Yeah. Anyway.
Right on. Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Jared, how about yourself, buddy?
Sure. So
Not quite as cool as the Hurricane.
Maybe a little more useful.
So I did a 3 guitars for our friend John Finnell, and 2 are the same guitar. So they're Ibanez. I forgot what they're called. They're $300 guitars.
Tone
200
King.
Tone King, yeah, 2 of those, and the jacks that.
So when you did guitars, you
I redid the bridge pickups on the Tone Kings, and I kind of looked them over, maybe improved, and the wiring's okay, the pots are okay. I think I changed one pot out, but the jacks never even had the lock washers on them. So
wow.
I added lock washers. I think maybe I changed the jacks out. I may have just changed the jacks out to Switchcraft, but so I made the bridge pickups that were in it. The wax. We talked about wax potting in the Pickup 101 podcast
Right.
a while back. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to that and then come back to this. But anyway, there was all this super thick wax.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to do anything to the old pickups, in which I had to actually use the base plates because they're a 50 millimeter, and I don't usually have 50 millimeter in my shop. So I had to pot the pickup again just to melt all the excess wax off the original pickup.
Wow.
It was crazy. So anyway, this is not even the best part of the story.
It's riveting.
The third, right? So the third, the guitar was actually bass guitar. It was an old Stingray. I think it's a late '70s Stingray. It's a Music Man Stingray.
Everything was called Stingray in the 70s. What's up with that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cars, bikes, guitars, all the cool stuff, right?
Everything that said Stingray sold.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wanted it.
Bizarre.
Yeah. So anyway, this when you turn the treble up on this Stingray and it's an active circuit, it would make this god awful RF noise. So it's just a real like you're on the wrong channel on the radio station.
And RF stands for radio frequency.
Right. So it's a real squeaky, unpleasant sound.
Yes.
And Zach and I worked on it. I actually had him, work on it for me. I got all the parts and had him because that's just the way that works. And he spent hours and hours and hours trying to get this new Seymour Duncan harness working right, and the directions came, and it wasn't the right directions for the right thing. Maybe he wasn't reading them right. I don't know. But we axed that and then decided to try to fix the thing with the old circuit or whatever. And I said, tear out all that what do you call that? The copper.
Yeah.
Tear all that out. So we tore out all the copper, and it worked fine. Like it fixed it. And the ground was loose on the base of the bridge.
Jeez.
So a lot of little things were wrong with it. So we get it all going.
Miracle he didn't get electrocuted.
So it plugged in. It worked great. So I buttoned it all up. I had all the 3 guitars to bring to John. And when I went to see John, he plugged in the bass. I'm like, this is awesome. I figured it out. I'm so proud of myself because I fixed this thing. It's going to work great. You're going to love this and you're not going to hear that noise anymore. He plugged it in. It doesn't even work. It doesn't work. I'm like, it worked yesterday in my house.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, I don't know it was super quiet. So I think maybe I had it on like an overdrive channel when I tested it and it just sounded normal. And then I bring it to him and he's like, this thing's messed up. I don't know what you're talking about. This thing sucks. And I'm like, okay, all right.
It happens.
Back to the drawing
It
board.
happens to the best of you.
So I actually found another circuit thing that was much more easier to do, and it looks really fail-safe. So hopefully we'll get this bass going.
Yeah.
That was my guitar. I usually don't work on guitars, people. I'm usually just a pickup guy, and that's all I do.
Yeah.
But, I said I'd do it, and I did it, and I got in trouble.
You could just say, "Hey, I fixed your bass because I took out your active noiseless pickups." And put,
Hey, I'm thinking about it.
passive ones
Very
in it.
quiet now.
I could do that, but
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
How about you, Todd?
It's an acoustic conversion.
yep.
Exactly. This week, what did I do this week? I am preparing to record. So last night, actually, I took all my guitars and I had a restringing party. And then after I was about halfway through the second guitar, and I realized I had to get a Christmas list out to my relatives and stuff. So you know what I put on there? Power winder.
Oh,
I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna ask for that. I wouldn't pay for it myself, but if someone else wants to, do that, then so I ordered one of those for where I put it on the list rather. But did the old SIT 10s, fail safe. Love those ones. They're great. So there you have it. It's string changing. It's still a fun thing. You get to zen out a little bit, do a little clean in, and like, oh, I didn't know that was. Oh, let me just fix this and diddle with that. So, kind of fun. Yeah. Anyhow, all right. With that awesome stuff.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
Okay, Jer from DeLisle Guitar Company. Please tell us your 4 on the floor.
All right. Well, the first one is purely functional. A Dunlop mini volume pedal that I use. I put that behind the dirt pedals. That gives me the option of, swelling in from with an overdriven signal or using the volume knob to hit the drives and kind of bring up the overdrive itself.
Why a mini?
I have a small pedal board.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense.
It fit on the bottom half of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to, take up two big spots for it.
Smart.
Yeah, it was probably not the best decision since I wear big boots and it fits on like the heel, but it looks. I mean, it's good for my ego,
Right.
So yeah, so I put that on a loop pedal, so it'll let me do both functions as an expression pedal or a volume pedal. So the expression part goes out to an EH pitchfork that I used on like one song ever. And then the next one for overdrive, if I'm not using my own stuff, I was a really big fan of, actually still am, of Rich Robinson's tone, Black Crows.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody I read somewhere said that he used a full tone 2 overdrive. So when I'm able, I pinch that from somebody else and borrow that and stick that on my board. And it was one of the ones that was modified by JHS. Just a really cool sounding overdrive.
No, that's is that the MOSFET one, the blue one?
Yeah, it's the blue one. It's one of the, I guess that would be the middle one, maybe.
Okay, gotcha.
There was a non-MOSFET version, I think.
Yeah.
And then that one, and then a red one.
Right.
MOSFET 3, I think. Full drive, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one is, of the drives that I've tried, I mean, I just tend to gravitate towards that one for whatever reason.
That's a drive that we will never stop seeing, especially like anybody that spends any time on Craigslist or looks in any of the stores or Reverb. You can almost always find one of those. Rarely are they ever more than $80, and you get a 2-button drive out of it. Pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid pedal. So that's probably my go-to one as far as overdrive in front of the amp. Sometimes what I would do is use a tube overdrive and then set the amp clean and then have my modulation and delay effects between the two. So it was basically like a tube preamp, effects loop, and then the tube power amp. So
Nice.
the next one would be Nova Delay by TC Electronic. I went with that one for two reasons, really. When I play out, I'm playing to a track, or not a track, but the songs are, tied together with a click track. And sometimes there's only like 2 or 3 seconds before songs. So with the TC, I was able to get in there and modify the preset button and make a little, an external pedal that would allow me to tap on it and scroll the presets. So if I knew the set list, I could go in beforehand, program in the beats per minute. Then I'd just be able to scroll in between songs without having to try and, start a song and tap in. So it was just a really simple solution for me.
That's pretty smart.
It didn't take up a lot of space. Allowed me to jump right into the song because I hate trying to tap in, especially if I'm playing something that's, beyond my ability, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything. But so then that one goes out stereo into my fourth pedal, which would be the Hall of Fame, the normal size one. And I like that one too. Just it's got the stereo out, so you can go to 2 different amps, which is what we do. And then
that's a great reverb pedal. I mean that one. That's another one. You can always see the Hall of Fame out there.
Yeah. I mean it's nothing extremely fancy for me. At least I don't use it for anything other than just the sound that I like and the ability to go out stereo into 2 different amps. So I got the Nova Delay going stereo into the Hall of Fame, and then the Hall of Fame going stereo out into the 2 amps. So it gives you, it can give you a really Pink Floyd type sound.
Sure.
That
That's a working man's 4 on the floor right there.
Totally.
It is, man. It is. It's not too fancy. But it does the job.
Yeah.
Like 3 years ago, I never even had a pedal board. Because when I was growing up, it was like, you turn it up until it hurt, and then you just turn it up a little bit more.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm kind of new as far as pedal boards go.
Well, that's you picked one that there's a reason that those pedals they'll never go away, is because they're good, solid pedals, and they deliver. They're not the latest, greatest, shiniest boutique thing, but they're going to stick around because they're solid, all of them. Well, thank you for sharing that, man. We appreciate it. Now we are talking to Jer DeLisle of DeLisle Guitar Co. Is it safe to say you're famous for your amps?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I started out trying to build guitars, and I still build them occasionally, but it's not like the main focus. I just started and decided I didn't want to build Strats or Tellys, and then soon found out that most people want to play Strats and Tellys. so that opened the door to the amplifier side. I was like, well.
Oh, you didn't go for an Iceman?
Oh no, no. I couldn't bring myself to do that.
Yeah.
No. But that kind of opened the door to the amplifier thing. So I figured people would be more likely to take a chance on an amplifier that they might not have firsthand experience with than a guitar. Since the guitar is just that's just an extension, since you're holding it, and the geometry's got to be right for you, and all of that kind of stuff. So that one's a little bit more personal as far as the feel.
Yeah.
So just moved over into the amps, and that was really the start of it, and then it just kind of branched out into other products after that.
Right. Now the amps, I think that decision switching from guitars to amps is you're leaving a little bit more up to the guitar gods to bestow the mojo, as it were, into an amp that, an amp is so subjective, maybe even more so than a guitar. And so it's often not what you see, but actually what you think you might get out of it. So did you have an electronics background that the runway to do that?
I was in IT at the time, so I had built servers, and I spent a lot of time coding, so I was around it. I started working on my amps in the 90s, so however long ago that was now.
Yeah. So you've been, you're not, you didn't just show up on the scene here with your amps. Then that's what we're saying, right?
Yeah, it's been official. I started the company on February 13th, 2008. Congratulations, honey. You're pregnant. We just started a company on the worst economic downfall. Yeah, let's jump right into that.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day.
About when I started as well.
That was rough.
So, and doing okay. So we're
Thanks for the memories. Gosh. So now, when you started that, was it just you?
Yeah. So it was. I was in the kitchen one night, and I just mentioned in passing. I was like, "Hey, hon, I'd like to build guitars for a living." And to my surprise, she said, "Okay." And that, to me, was just a big loophole in the gear buying kibosh that she had put on a few years ago. So I spent the first year just, designing, testing, kind of building stuff up. Mm-hmm. And then the second year moved into the amps as well. I think that was the second year. So started designing my preamp. Basically what I did was I started with a 5-watt amp. So that was going to be my basic design that I worked, my preamp out with. Mm-hmm. So I bought all of the standard 5-watt amps, the Champ, the Vox, AC4, Gibson GA5, vintage and new. And I kind of played with all of them and designed out of them all of the things that I didn't like. So, you usually get like a small cabinet, maybe an 8-inch or 10-inch speaker, mm-hmm. a volume knob and a tone knob, nothing real fancy. So I designed mine in a 20 by 18 cab. Gave you the option of like doing, reverb, tremolo, effects loop, all that kind of stuff. So it was really just like a custom shop, you build it how you want it. If you don't want tremolo, you don't have to pay for tremolo. But
right,
you want an XLR out, I can do that for you.
Right.
So it was really, I really wanted to set myself apart from guys that were doing, just straight up nice builds, but straight up, versions of Fenders and everything else that had already been done. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit unique. That was like, if you want a Tweed Deluxe, you can buy it from, 20 guys building Tweed Deluxes. But if you want, what I'm doing, I'm the only guy doing it. So
right. So you were kind of you took the things that you liked, left out the things that you didn't like, and came up with a sound that you could call your own.
Yeah. The first amp that I finished was a 5-watt amp. It was called the Nickel Box. I still make it. It had the preamp was based off of the EF86, so I had a 12AX7 in front of the EF86, so it would be driven harder.
Now, just real quick, for those who don't know what a 12AX7 and an EF86 are, could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. A 12AX7 is the more traditional preamp tube. It's 2 triode stages in a single glass envelope. So those will be your gain stages throughout the preamp, and a lot of times used for the phase inverter and stuff like that. The EF86 is a single gain stage, a pentode in a single glass envelope. So it gives you a little bit different sound when it's overdriven. And that's why I put it in the 3rd stage of the preamp, so that you could actually hit it a little bit harder by driving it with, two previous gain stages, and then bring out the odd order harmonics of that particular tube, and just give it a little bit different flavor for a preamp that you would see even with other amps that use a EF86 as the first tube in the input.
I like that. That sounds like,
yeah.
I like to think that that's, if I was going to do something along those lines, based on how I currently mess with my gear, I like to think that I would do something like that. I applaud that.
Well, thank you.
I don't know if I would, but I like to think I would. Yeah, that's cool. And now I'm based on what you just said about getting super mega custom about those. I'm sure all the other components were equally as fun to dig into and mess with, right?
Yeah. It was just a lot of fun just trying different speakers, finding which ones suited the voicing of the preamp the best, or which ones. The speaker is really the most important filter in the amp. If you've ever listened to like the direct signal off the output transformer, you'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
It sounds like a bunch of buzzing bees. So, pairing it with the right speaker is really important. A great design, and put it with the wrong speaker and it'll, just sound really bad.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to split this question into two things. First, why a 5-watt amp as opposed to, I guess, maybe a more normal use amp?
If you pair it with the right speaker, like a 12-inch speaker, you don't need a lot of volume.
Mm-hmm.
So like to double the volume of a 5-watt or a 5-watt amp, you need a 50-watt amp. So, a 5-watt amp with a 12-inch speaker that's fairly efficient will still put out a lot of volume.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when you pair it with the smaller speakers is they're less efficient and they don't move as much air and they just sound, more like a practice amp. So the 5-watt amp, when it was in a big cab with a 12-inch speaker, it gave you a big sound. So the watts wasn't necessarily as important to me as getting the big sound.
Gotcha. What were some speaker considerations? So, you just kind of mentioned how trying the right one was obviously crucial, but what were some of those decisions that you made, and why didn't you choose some of the other ones?
A lot of it just came down to tone. I ended up gravitating toward speakers that had really big magnets and that were overbuilt for what I needed, just because you got a better low end out of it. One of the things a small watt amp sometimes suffers from is a juicy bottom end, if I can say it that way.
You just got Tony's attention.
Hello?
So pairing it with a speaker that's like, rated for 75 watts and has a big magnet on it, you just get a bigger sound out of the less wattage.
Mm-hmm. As far as the aesthetic, that's the one that you chose for that. I believe the wood one, right? It's the no, which one? Oh, that's a standard. Right. Okay. Tony was showing me the old timey one.
Looked like a radio.
Oh,
yeah.
That was a fun one. I'd been working with. That one belongs to Jimbo Mathis of Squirrel Nut Zippers. I'd been working with him when he was doing his solo thing before he got the zippers back. He called me and he's like, "Hey, Jer, I'm getting the zippers back together. Can you build me an amp that looks like a radio?" It's like, sure. Had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
At all. So, but apparently you can bend 3/4-inch plywood in a 7-inch radius. But yeah, so that one was kind of based on an old Philco radio. It's a 215, if you can believe that.
Oh, wow. You got 215s in that?
Yes.
Wait. What?
Yeah, it's a 215. Jimbo said he was playing with a horn section, and when he wanted to move some air, he wanted to move some air.
Wow.
So that's what
it's so deceiving because when you look online, it looks like it would sit on the top of your desk or something. It looks tiny.
Yeah, it does.
But
say
it's
two
215s.
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm kind of want to do the same thing, but I'm not an amp guy, so maybe you can help me out, Jer. I was in my old elementary school for a chili supper that we traditionally do every year before a football game, and they're going to break the school down, or they're going to tear the school down. And there's some intercoms in there that I think I want to bid on. Everybody's going to be able to go there and kind of bid on things at the school. But I want to get a couple of the intercoms, the intercom speakers, and they're old-timey, too. These things look like they're from the 40s. So maybe I can have a couple of amps made. Or just make them into speaker cabinets,
That'd be cool.
Because, many announcement came through those.
Or you can make
speakers.
a giant pair of headphones out of it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that would
That'd
be
fit
even
on
cool.
Jared's head. So,
So how was the chili, by the way?
yeah.
It's actually a chili cook-off. There's several different firehouses that bring chili. And
Wow.
you're supposed to judge them. It used to be just chili from the school, and we would eat the chili before the football game, and then it just got more and more turned into a cook-off, and the mayor comes and he judges them.
The mayor?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this Mayberry? What is this?
I know. We used to play poker with him.
Was Floyd the judge?
He doesn't
too?
play poker with us anymore.
Jeez.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah.
I need I want to get something from that school because it would be
that's
sentimental
kinda
to
cool.
me.
I like that.
Yeah.
you should get the Shure Vocal Master that they probably had in the office to run
Oh,
the mic.
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
That'd be
sure,
cool.
I sure.
So,
sure.
yeah, you're going to have to get a hold of Jer after this then, right? And Jer's like,
Probably.
what are you guys dragging me into? No. Man.
Okay.
So, you had the, what was it? The nickel box, right? From the nickel box, you said, whoa, I've made my name. I've created this awesome thing here. Well, you obviously kept going. So where was your mindset? You decided to expand on that line. Is this now a full-fledged company, or are you still scratching away at it?
Oh man, if you're in the boutique gear industry, you always got to hustle, So, yeah, but that was the first of I think maybe 12 designs that I did, and so I kept those modular, so I could plug my reverb or tremolo or effects loop into any of the different power amps and preamps that I'd set up. So I ended up doing a couple of 15-ish watt versions, 30 watt, 60 watt, that were all based on that same design. So if you needed more power, if you wanted it in a 212, I could basically build it in any configuration. And then just the beginning of this year, I started doing, instead of, having to wait for 6 or 8 weeks to get an amp, I came up with a couple of designs that were based on, vintage circuits that everybody knows what they're supposed to sound like, and what everybody likes. So to try and catch that part of, the guitar playing market where you don't want to wait, you want something really high end, that you know what it sounds like and what to expect. So I came up with a Quadrelux reverb. So you get a Tweed Deluxe, a Princeton reverb, a Tweed Vibrolux, and then a variation of our Rutgers reverb with some, very interesting switching. You get 4 amps in one compact combo.
Wow,
It's
that's
like-
cool.
That's a neat idea.
That's really
So-
cool.
So it's like 35 pounds. It's paired with a Weber Blue Dog, and sounds great.
And to be
And
clear,
then-
we're not talking about modeling here.
No. These are like legit circuits.
That's legit circuits.
It's yeah. No digital stuff going on in there. So it's pretty much what I mean. If you're a Fender guy, it would cover every decent Fender sound that you would want.
Man.
Are you using the same output stage though? Is the difference in the? Are there 4 different preamp stages? Or
So
with it, you don't have you don't have to divulge top secret information.
No. I mean, so what you'd have to do to go from, say, the Tweed Deluxe to the Princeton reverb is, or go vice versa. You bypass all of the reverb circuitry. The Tweed has its own tone knob and volume knob, so it disconnects all of the reverb stuff out of circuit, disconnects the negative feedback loop, and so you're just straight Tweed Deluxe at that point. And then if you
Wow.
want to flip the bias over to fixed bias, then that with the tremolo will do the Tweed Vibrolux. So
Nice.
yeah, it's about as legit as you can get.
That's pretty outstanding. And what this is called? That's called the Quadrolux.
Quadrolux reverb. Mm-hmm.
Anything quadra,
vintage.
anything sounds cool.
Well, I'd actually, the guy that runs the GretschPages.com, his name's Tim Baxter. He kind of gave me the challenge to do it. I think in 2016 is when I did his. So he's like, "This is what I want. Can you do it?" And I always say yes, and then figure out how to do it.
Well, of course I could do that. Oh, no.
Yeah, why not?
Was that one of those ones that you barely got through, or did you pretty much nail it right out?
No, yeah, he got the prototype and he loved it. So I mean, that was the production model is just slightly different. In that it incorporates the negative feedback switching as well.
Now, what does that do for somebody?
For me, anyway, an amp without negative feedback, like the Tweed Deluxe or like an AC-15, it'll transition into overdrive a little more smoothly. With an amp that has negative feedback, you can kind of vary that transition with just your pick attack. It'll break over, more abruptly. That's really the most useful part of it for me. But then you can also incorporate the presence control inside that circuit if you want to. So the presence control will shunt some of those frequencies and then act like an active treble control, and that's working inside that loop.
You mentioned presence control. I don't know how many of you out there that are listening that whenever you see presence, you're like, yeah, sure.
More.
I don't know. Yeah. Pull on it. Oh, this one pulls too. It's a pull presence if you've got an old PV. And so could you explain a little bit what a presence knob does?
You can just think of it as an active treble boost. That's essentially what it does. When it sends the signal back from the negative feedback loop and it goes through the presence control, it shunts some of the frequencies to ground so they're not affected by the feedback loop. And so that's when you're able to control the top end sound. I hope that was clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, certainly more than going, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, you have a couple of these other models that have you taken the same approach, just, with some of the more familiar type amps where you're like, yeah, I'm going to take that familiar amp, but I'm going to put a little twist on it.
My hang up at the beginning when I said I didn't want to build, Strats or Tellys is kind of carried over into the amp side of it too. If I build something that's based off of a vintage circuit, I don't want to do it, just a straight up clone, just because it's not interesting to me.
Right.
As a designer, I like the design part of it is and the problem solving part of it is one of the more interesting things about making amps. So the next one that I did was what I call the JDL 35. Was based on the JTM 45. So it's got it's paired with a Weber Silver Bell. It's got the Mercury Magnetics radio spares transformer that was cloned from like what they said like some of the first JTM 45s ever. So it's in a 112 combo cab.
Cool.
So it's portable, sounds great, but it's also got a split shared cathode switch, and then a tone stack switch that will. So between the two of those, you basically get the JTM 45 sound, and then like the later 60s, like super lead stuff going on. So if you don't know, the JTM 45 is pretty close to a Tweed Bassman, with the exception of the power amp that was paired with KT66s. So
and KT66s, for those who don't know, those are the tubes, right?
Yes, and they are as big as your head.
Coke bottles. Coke bottles.
Big ones.
Yeah, they are big ones. So So you get a little bit of that early Fender tweed in there as well, and then the later '60s Marshall if you want to split the cathodes and give it a little treble boost and all that.
So that's a switch that you have on the amp to be able to do that?
Yeah, just simple toggles on the front panel that just makes it a little bit more versatile than just a straight up JTM 45 might be.
Mighty cool. And you kind of maintained a little bit of the Marshall aesthetic but without being just obligatory.
Yeah, that was kind of it was definitely a nod to the blues breaker get up, but I've been drawn to the TV front for whatever reason. So that cab is more like a Tweed Pro. That was the look I was going for.
Yeah.
And so the TV front is basically it has the full rim frame in front of it, right? Is that what you'd classify a TV?
Yeah. It just looks like an old. Yeah, it just looks like an old console type TV setup.
Gotcha.
That, I had when I was a kid.
Perf. I'm assuming you tackled one around one of the other big guys as well.
That one's still in the works. I'm debating on whether or not to well, it would be based on a box. So I've got it as a 15 watt, and it does. I've modified the EF86 circuit that they used because it was just pretty much lifted from a data sheet example, which was designed for a microphone preamp. So the EF86 got kind of a bad rap as a guitar tube just because it was in a combo amp and had ridiculous gain for a single gain stage, and that increased the noise and all that kind of stuff. So when I did it, I went back and I redesigned the EF86 circuit so it was suited more toward the purpose that I was using it for. So there's still plenty of gain, but it doesn't exhibit the same problems that some of the other designs might have used. So I pair that EF86 side with just a regular top boost side, but a couple of things I'm still deciding on is whether or not to use EL34s, and then I also have a circuit that I call the Variodyne, which allows you to scale the DC voltages in the power amp. It's kind of like, exactly like power scaling, but my addition to that is scaling the AC signal levels that go into the reduced power stage so that you don't have to have like a separate drive knob to prevent the amp from sounding like a pack of angry bees if you turn the power down too low. So it makes it simple for the user if they're not like a one that is used to like tweaking their amps. So you can just turn that one knob down and it'll go down to less than 1 watt, but it'll also scale the signal level that's going into that stage so that it's a simultaneous reduction with just one knob. So I don't know if I want to put that in there or not. So those are my two decisions to make.
I'm getting so I just got to share this real quick. I'm reminded of Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz, who's the Scarecrow, as you are, is the IT guy, and then all of a sudden he's bestowed with all the brains about amps, and he's like, the square root of the equilateral triangle. Like, who knew that was in there, right? As an IT guy, holy moly, you know a lot about amps, man. I mean, I guess you should, since that's what you do. But that's
yeah.
To just roll out without a book. Wow.
Yeah. Magnetone's looking for a new general manager. Did you see that? I'm thinking about applying.
Hey, there you go.
Just kidding.
So you seem to most of your combos are single 12 units, aside from the 2x15 radio.
Oh yeah.
Do you find that you just like?
Well, that one has a shoulder strap.
Well,
so.
well, that's true. It comes with its own moving crew. Do you
roadie.
Do you think about maybe doing like a twin, like a 212 or an AC30 kind of thing?
Yeah, that's one of the options. If you if you click on the page, one of the first drop-down options is the configuration. So you can get it as a head, a 210, a 212.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I
whatever
was
you
just
want.
looking at the it seems like there's mostly the 112 combos, but that's a cool option to have.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if I'll build anything you want. I mean, that's like I said, I always say yes and figure out how to do it later.
Can I get an 812 cabinet?
I will do it. I will do it.
The money's there, man.
Yeah.
That's right.
It seems as though you've extended your success with those amps into a couple of other directions. Can you want to talk about those real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I do a lot of, like, I guess you would call it studio switching gear. So, like, you have a bunch of amps and a bunch of cabinets, and you want to be able to switch them around without having to, get behind stuff and recable. And do a couple of desktop models where you can plug like 4 amps into the back of the switch and 4 speakers, and then you can route everything around in different combinations without having to, spend a lot of time unplugging and plugging back in. Also do an 8x8 rack mount unit. So those have been pretty popular for guys that have either professional studios or home studios when they want to just put their heads up on a couple of shelves and not have to bother with pulling them down to plug stuff back in. I mean, it's really simple, idea, but it saves so much time that people have been really drawn to that one.
That's a pretty popular thing, especially when you're looking at YouTube, especially with the like pedal gear demo, or not pedal gear demo, just gear demos. But there's you always look back and you're like, what are all those heads doing up there, like just stacked and stuff. So that device essentially allows you to do that. When you see all of those heads on your favorite gear demo guy, they might be using something like you have, right?
Yeah. Just allows you to move stuff around without, having to be a big hassle.
That sounds pretty cool. Jared, you might actually benefit from something like that, man. He's got a lot of amps and a lot of cabs, and they're all in a big semicircle.
Yeah, it seems more and more these days I don't really have the chance to plug them into the cabs and turn it up real loud. I'm glad I have those
The Oxes.
But
the switching part, like if you wanted to try, your pickups between the Orange and the Buddha and the
that's what I'm trying to get at.
10
It's like
Marshalls.
if I could have all those amps on and then have some sort of switching thing. I was thinking Rob Chafe and maybe,
Or how
Jer.
about our guest?
Yeah, maybe him.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
I
whatever.
think Jared. I think he actually makes something.
There
That
is one that'll
might-
route the
that would work
attenuator
that
around as well.
Oh, yeah? Now, what is this?
Yeah, so if you have an aux, yeah, it's called the 7x7 Amp Speaker Selector with attenuator loop. It's not very,
That's a sexy
user-friendly
name.
to say.
Yeah.
It's very practical. It's all about the function. But so you can plug an aux into the back of this thing and then route its output to any speaker that you want, or a combination of speakers, and then you can route any amps output into the aux. So you could have 7 amps and 7 cabs, and then the aux on basically a send and receive loop.
What if I have 2 Oxes?
Because he actually does. That's just ridiculous.
2 auxes.
Yeah.
Well, we could make one with 2 loops.
There we go.
Oh, man. 14 brides for 14 brothers.
If you have 2 oxes, you can plow the fields.
Yeah, and double the time.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Half the time, that's what I meant. Yeah, well, I'll have to, shoot you an email or something.
Yeah. You guys have a lot to talk about after the show.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's really cool. And you got some pedals too, right?
Yeah, one of the first pedals I came up with was an ABC pedal. I was doing some work for a guy in Nashville. I had built him an amp, and he was using 2 other amps at the same time. But he told me he was using those cheater plugs that defeated the ground loop, or the safety ground on the amp. So I was like, I really don't want your widow calling me.
Right.
When you've, crossed the streams and fried yourself. So I was like, the foray into the pedal business was really self-preservation.
Yeah,
I was
right.
just trying not to get this guy killed. So I came up with an ABC pedal that uses transformer isolated outputs on two of the outputs, so you don't have to worry about ground loops and death and stuff.
Now, for those who are not totally clear on what an ABC pedal is or does, could you explain that just a little bit?
Sure. So this fella was plugging in the input. So he'd plug his guitar in the input, and then there would be three different outputs labeled ABC, and A would go to a guitar amp, B would go to a second guitar amp, and then C would go to a laptop, which dropped it down an octave and then off to a bass amp. So he had this huge sound from just one guitar input. So he was actually taking one guitar and sending it out to three different amps, one of which was then turned into a bass.
Wow.
So it just allows you to do a bunch of different cool setups, and you can activate them individually however you want. So you could have two on, three
idea.
on, one on. Yeah,
maybe not the bass thing, but I've been very interested in. I've been trying to learn a little bit more about splitting into two amps so I can get a bigger sound, because I'm in my group. I am the guitarist, and I would like just a little bit more. I love the tone that I have, but I feel like getting more of it, or a different one that would sound almost like a second guitarist. Would be kind of cool.
What you could do? You could break the ground lug off of all of the cords on your amps. You get a great sound after that.
Okay, show me how to do that. Yeah, nice. So something like that ABC would allow me to do that safely, because that's been the biggest reason why I haven't tried to. There's so many different opinions and devices that allow you to do that, and it's a little daunting, because everything that I hear about it is, for Pete's sakes, don't do this. But then there's all these other ones that are like, half or a third of the price as the other ones. So it's very deceiving.
Yeah. Ours isn't too bad. I think the ABC is $189. And then there's an ABY that's pretty much the same, except for just the switching arrangement. So you would be able to go out to
both,
to two amps at once, and then toggle between the two if you wanted to do that. But it's the same thing. It's transformer isolated. And
so kids, if you don't want to kill yourself, look for a transformer isolated switcher, right? Essentially.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Or just live with the noise in a regular ABC.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, Jer, we really appreciate you sharing as much as you have been able to without even looking at any notes or anything. I'm so impressed.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. For those who are still unfamiliar with the DeLisle amplifiers and other stuff that we've been talking about, where is the best place that they can see some of these things and hear them in action?
Well, you can go to the website. It's DeLisle guitar.com. We've got demos of a few amps on there, YouTube demos, the new ones especially. We've also got some links to the artists that we work with and the albums that they've used our stuff on, so you can hear it in a professional band recorded studio setting as well, as opposed to just the demo stuff. But yeah, there, and Facebook, Instagram, I do all of them but Twitter.
Right. And for those who are trying to find out, like, where is this person located, you're our brother to the right over in Indiana.
You guys are in Ohio, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm in Indiana, northwest side of Indiana.
Yep. And if we
Indianapolis, anyway.
Next time we accidentally drift into Indiana, we'll knock on your door. All right, everybody, make sure that you go check out DeLisleGuitar.com and find out more about these amazing amps and other gear that this gentleman is building from hand with his own 10 fingers and stuff. Pretty cool. Jared?
Everybody knows what time it is now.
What time is it?
It is time for our little segment called Would you rather?
It's like a CD, broken CD right there.
This week's Would You Rather is brought to us by our friend and executive producer, Justin Jones. Here it goes.
I don't know if I can do this. I'm trying so hard not to laugh.
You're going to have to splice this in.
Okay, go ahead.
You find yourself...
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Here.
Serious.
Don't say serious. All right, okay.
Mongrel.
Sorry, Jer.
You find a crazy rock and roll mongrel guitar hanging in your local shop. Would you rather restore it to its original stock design or keep it the funky mojo it now possesses?
This is a good one because we kind of talked about this a little bit with the Joan Jett melody maker. It's a similar situation.
Yeah, I think so.
But this is just some random old rock and roll-y guitar.
Yeah. Now he posted this with a little picture of this Rick bass that he found that was like at first I was like, hey, that's a really cool looking bass, and I looked at it closer and it was all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I think there were nickels holding up the back end of the bridge.
Nice.
Underneath this. Yeah, pretty cool. So anyways, to that point, do you just honor that and just go with it, or do you say no? I gotta take this back to original business here. It's a great question. Thank you for sending that in, Monsieur Bellone.
No, I will not go first because every time I go first, everyone else disagrees with me.
I'll go first.
All right, Jared, you go first.
I don't know what I'd do. It depends what it was exactly, but if it looked really cool with the nickels and the whatever holding things up, I'm just going to keep it the way it is. I'll just keep it the way it is. Just
Okay.
How can you get it to look like that, unless it just happens throughout the years. When it happens throughout the years, a true relic happens. It's really cool. You just can't fake it.
Okay, good one. Tony?
I mean, again, I agree with Jared, and it would depend on what was done to it. But if there is a certain amount of mojo or coolness in what was done to it, I think I would keep it that way. I mean, I've seen some really cool things. I've been involved with some projects myself. We were talking about the Joan Jett one recently. That because the damage was already done, and then to try to take it back to what it was originally would cost more, and you'd still not end up with what it was or what it's supposed to be. I think you kind of work with whatever damage or whatever was done to it, and try to clean up anything that you can. And if you want to make it pretty, shoot some more paint on it, whatever. But yeah, I mean, unless there's some structural need to change things, I think I'd just kind of leave it the mongrel guitar that it is.
Okay. Jer, how about yourself?
Man, as long as it's not sticky. That's my bar. I've got some guitar. It's like, is that barbecue sauce?
Oh,
what is that? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, pretty easy.
All right. Okay.
Not in a little nap that can't fix.
I think we have a
There you
unanimous decision here, gentlemen, because I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And
You gotta leave it alone.
As all you know, I like personalizing and making it weird and letting things happen to them, and so I would be very happy if I walked into my local guitar shop that has used stuff like ours is Musical around here, and saw something that actually was like, hey, that belonged to somebody who really enjoyed messing around with guitars and stuff. I'm going to go for it. Or somebody who had no idea what they were doing.
And it's probably pretty cheap, especially if it has barbecue sauce on it.
And barbecue sauce and nickels. Yes. Yes. Wonder where that guitar's been. All right. Well, that was a fun one. Thank you so much for sending that in. Please, people out there, we know you got them. Send us your Would You Rathers. We will read them on the air, just like Jared did.
That's right.
So beautifully.
Send us a
Thank you.
picture of your old relics, too, your mongrels.
Yeah, we
You
like
did it on the
them
first try, too. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was amazing. How did you do that the very first time, Jared? Incredible. All right, Jer from DeLisle Guitar. Where can people find your gear to buy?
Just go to the website. It's DeLisle Guitar, DeLisle guitar.com. And to show our support here, we're going to offer a coupon code. Just enter the code Guitar Knobs in checkout, and we'll give you 10% off anything in the store.
Nice.
And
That's awesome. So go buy a bunch of handmade awesome amps and get your 10% off, people. What are you doing? Sheesh.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm excited. There's some really cool amps that he was talking about.
Yeah, there's cool stuff, and you got guitars, you've got pickups. You know,
You can get that ABY switcher
It's
and
the
the
one-stop
ABC.
shop.
You know, I'm going to be sending some people your way because every once in a while someone says, "Hey, can you make one of those Variodyne switch plate thingies?" And I don't make them, and for a while I couldn't find them. So now I have found them, and I will be sending them your way.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Very cool. So thank you. That is very generous. And make sure you go over to DeLisleGuitars.com and get that 10% off of any one of the awesome things that we've been talking about, and even those that we haven't.
Yes,
Tony Baloney.
I am. I'm still Tony.
We got some awesome people to thank.
We do. You know, Todd, at this point in the show, there's a very special group of people that we like to thank. We would call them our executive producers. And, you know, someone might be out there saying, well, what's an executive producer and how do I become one? The answer is quite simple. You go over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. You'll find a couple of different levels in which you can participate and be a patron of this very podcast. Each level has its own level, different types of swag and things like barefoot buttons and t-shirts and picks and stickers. And you also qualify to be in our gear
we have a lot of gear giveaways.
We've
these
got
days.
gear giveaways. We've got so much gear.
Giving away really cool pedals.
We're just giving it away.
And let me be clear, we're not giving away the gear. The awesome builders that we feature on this show,
They give it away to you guys.
They're so generous, and they really appreciate what you all are doing for the show as well, because it supports them ultimately.
We are merely the conduit of our guests.
That's
Yes.
right. We're conduits.
And we're happy to bring that
We're
opportunity
the grease
to
in the
you.
griddle.
But anyhow,
That's right.
the level that has the greatest impact on both the podcast and the world is that of the executive producer.
Correctamundo.
So in addition to all that great swag and things and the qualification to be part of the giveaways and Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my. Jared, what else do they get?
You get to have your name read
Your
on
name
the thing.
read on the thing, and that's what I'm doing right now. Let's start with Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Sean S. Chris Kearney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Brad Partridge, Corey Nigro, Ken Sayers, Jonathan Jerusik, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lanthrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Tig Harmon, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Tim Novak, Doug Gann, David Kaminga, Tommy Manasco, Justin Jones, who we just had a nice Would You Rather from,
And a mongrel.
Cody Lane, and Cody number 2, Cody Foster.
That's
Hey.
right. Outstanding.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you so much for that list, Tony, and thank you for being on the list. And if we didn't read your name off and you're a patron, we thank you as well. Your contributions truly help us. As we mentioned, we've left our previous studio, our old studio that was a jerk to us, but you know,
But it was home.
It was
It
home.
was.
It was home for 2 years.
Yes, it was an abusive home, but it was good.
Okay, it was.
So we are currently on the prowl for a new space. We got a couple things that we're looking at, and truly, you people, helping so much. So thank you. All right, Tony, where can people find you?
Let's just say you need a special pick guard. You're changing out pickups. You're doing whatever. You want to change the controls. You want to get rid of that nasty third top control on the Strat. Go over to pickguardian.com. Let me know what you need. I will personally, and I do mean personally, take care of you. Shoot me an email. See what you can shop on there a little bit. If you want to see some of these projects that we talk about from time to time, go over to Instagram, pickguardian and the number 1.
Perfect. Jared.
If you need pickups, new pickups that look old, or just new pickups,
Or old pickups that look new.
oh, whatever you want to do. Jared at BrandonWildPickups.com is me email, or just go to my website, check out what I got. Instagram, I'm always posting like cool old timey rewinds and stuff that I do on Instagram.
Awesome.
And Jared's stuff is good.
Thank you.
That's right. All right, you can shoot me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at guitarknobs. We love to hear from you. Please share us your stories, and we appreciate you listening to the show and supporting all of us. Jer DeLisle, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Woo! Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Good. I hope that we cross paths sooner than later. And everybody out there, make sure you get over to DeLisle Guitar and check out all the stuff that he's got to offer.
And take advantage of that special offer.
Absolutely, 10% off. And have a great guitar week and subscribe! What the hell?
You guys are knobs.
New York is where I'd rather stay.
Bada bing, bada boom.
I get allergic smelling hay.
I know what to do.
I just adore a penthouse view.
No problemo.
Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue.
Crazy rock and roll mongrel having in your local shop.
Hanging.
It says having.
The chores.
Tony.
Right. The stores.
Why does it have to be mongrel? What the fuck is a mongrel?
Because he wrote a mongrel is like a mutt. It's a mutt. Just.
For sure.
Let's do it.
Swear you are my wife.
I'll definitely be interrupting.
Yeah, well, try not to.
Goodbye, city life.
Man, as long as it's not sticky.
Yummy. Turn me down. I double dog dare you.
I just did.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.